Hello everyone, welcome back to Powerful Nothing and Magic the Gathering Cube podcast. I'm your host Dan, and as always, I'm joined by James. James, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing good. We're fresh off of a Hobbit pre-release, so we're therefore now experts on the set, having played 3 rounds, and I did an arena draft, so basically we know everything there is to know about it.
Yeah, look at us. We've done research, like actual playtesting. Aren't we good? And that's right, yeah. Today we are back with part 2 of our Cube set review for the Hobbit Magic the Gathering set. A link to last week's episode will be down in the show notes below, where we went over all the goodness from white, blue, and black. This week, we're going to be covering everything else. Right, we might as well kick off. James, take it away with our first red card of the day. What do you think about Bothersome Noisemaker?
Yeah, so Bothersome Noisemaker is 1 red for a 2/2 creature goblin bard at uncommon. And it says, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, amass goblins 1. So, amass goblins in a similar way as we've amassed orcs and zombies in the past. We put a +1/+1 counter on an army we control. It's also a goblin. If you don't control an army, create a 0/0 army first. This card's fine. We already have a bunch of versions of this effect, right? Things like Third Pass Iconoclast, the robots, they all trigger off like different things. They all have some different quirks. But this one, the big difference is it's going tall rather than going wide, right? Which is generally going to be worse in the abstract. You'd rather be making 1/1s than growing the one that you have. The nice things, though, it's only 1 color. It triggers off any non-creature spell. It doesn't have to be an artifact or, some of them are sort of instant or sorcery specific. There's just any non-creature spell, which is really nice. Listen, I think in most cubes, the homes that these cards have really, really want the 1/1s because they're benefiting from going wide in ways other than just attacking and blocking, right? But I think for Peasant specifically, this can be really nice. And yeah, I think it will have some homes. Maybe you care about doing goblin stuff as well. Although those decks do tend to be fairly creature heavy, so you're probably not getting as many triggers. There's not a lot wrong with the card, but I suspect that Peasant is the only place we're actually going to see it.
Yeah, I'd agree. I could see Peasant or maybe like some lower powered level cube where actually like the power matters, if that makes sense. Like if you're doing things with like repeatable fling effects or something like that, then going taller, going beefier with 1 creature rather than going wide, that's kind of like one of the scenarios where you might actually want that. The only thing I think is like just this card as a creature, I think is one of the better bodies we've seen. Like this being a 2-mana 2/2, like they're normally 2-mana 1/1s or like 2/1s or like 1/3s or something like that. So just as a body for this type of effect, this one is quite good, I think. But yeah, I think you kind of nailed it. Like the traditional spell slinger decks kind of want to go wide rather than big. But yeah, there will be some cubes where this could be the card of choice. But let's keep going. We're moving up to Mythic next with another Gandalf. We have a red Gandalf Goblin's Bane. It is 2 and a red for a 2/3 legendary creature avatar wizard. It has an adventure called Flame Shape, which is 1 red for a sorcery adventure. Look at the top 2 cards of your library and exile them face down. For as long as they remain exiled, you may play them if you control a wizard. And then the creature part of Gandalf has, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Gandalf gets +1/+1 until end of turn and deals 1 damage to each opponent. Let's talk about the adventure side first. 2 mana to get access to 2 more cards is quite nice, but you have to follow up with the Gandalf to get anything because we have to have a wizard in play. Kind of like, I know in the last episode we touched on a little bit of, yes, there are some wizards in Cube in general, but realistically, if we're evaluating this card, we kind of need to think about it in a vacuum. So realistically, it's 2 mana. It's kind of like a 2 mana investment that later when we cast our Gandalf, then we get access to the cards that we've exiled with it. The Gandalf itself, I think it's quite nice, like the 3 mana creature part, because it's the first part is kind of like a super prowess. It combines the 2 effects that we often see in these decks. Kind of like we're double dipping on like Spellslinger payoffs tend to either be prowess or pinging our opponent for damage. With this one card, we get both of them, which is quite nice. But both effects. Like Gandalf, we're getting for more damage like a prowess creature when we cast spells, but also we are guaranteeing a ping each time we do something. That is quite nice. And if I'm honest, that kind of makes up for it being 3 mana. The fact that we will get damage guaranteed whenever we cast spells off of it. It means that if Gandalf comes down later, perhaps, and it's outclassed on the board, we can still cast spells to ping our damage, to get damage through that way. I think it's quite nice. Like, my gut is that this isn't for high-powered cubes, because specifically Spellslinger type decks haven't really worked there because everyone kind of drafts your spells. But in a slightly more mid-powered cube where Spellslinger can still be supported, I think it's a perfectly solid card. It kind of fits in that gap of it is a payoff for both like a Monetary Swiftspit aggro style of Spellslinger deck or a more slower burn them out style of deck. Yeah, I think it's a solid card. What do you think? What do you think of Gandalf, James?
Yeah, it's an interesting card. The thing I quite like about it, compared to a lot of similar effects we get out of Red with the card draw, is that you're not on any sort of clock for when you have to use these cards. And you can how you play this card should be dictated by the information of what you exiled, right? So if you exile, say, a land and an expensive spell, you're probably not going to be able to set it up so you play Gandalf plus the expensive spell on the same turn, but you still probably want to not cast Gandalf on 3, so you want to cast it like on 4 so you can go Gandalf, get your land drop, right? But if you exile, say, a land and a cheaper spell, well, then maybe it's worth hanging on a couple of turns so that you have enough mana to go Gandalf, land drop, spell all in the same turn and lock in all your value. And it sort of asks you to make a judgment call about how long you want to wait in order to guarantee getting more value out of this. Because obviously, it is inherently a fairly mana intensive card, right? It's 2 for the adventure, 3 for the value. You're 5 mana deep before you've cast any of the spells you exiled with it. But when it does all work, you're getting 2 cards and a 3 threatening creature for that mana. So it is a lot of value. If you have other wizards in your deck, I don't think that's essential, but it does. It means you can be a lot freer with when you play out Gandalf, right? Because you're going to get to cast the exiled cards later, even if they kill the Gandalf, which it makes a pretty meaningful difference, I think, to have a card plays, because it means you don't want to have to wait so long to cast Gandalf that you're actually not getting that many triggers off him, right? Yeah, I don't think this is going in super high power level cubes, but if you're doing Wizards Matter specifically, I think this is cool, and Blue-Red is normally the home for that.
Yeah.
If you're doing just non-creature spells Matter, then it's fine, but there's loads of payoffs for that. If you just like Gandalf, you can put that in for that reason
that
too.
That is perfectly acceptable. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with the card. It'll see play, but it's probably not quite there for like powered cube.
No, I agree. And just one thing with the adventure part, just having it on a creature that is quite nice, is that it is just a way of getting an extra sorcery into your cube kind of for free, because it comes on a creature that you kind of want in that deck. But yeah, Gandalf's Goblin Bane seems like a cool one. All right, the next one, James. I think we're both in agreement, might not be a good card, but I think we both really like it. Talk to us about Getaway Barrel.
Yeah, this card's sick. You can't only make me talk about good cards.
I like this card too.
Getaway Barrel is 3 and a red for an artifact. It says, when this artifact is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you reveal the top 13 cards of your library. Put a random creature card from among them onto the battlefield, and put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So the obvious thing about this card, right, is that it doesn't really do anything.
It does absolutely nothing. But I love it so much.
Yeah, if you were waiting for the bit where it has an activated ability that sacrifices it, then it is not there.
No.
Which I'm all here for. I like it when you have to work to enable your cards. I think that makes Cube more fun. Yeah, so obviously this card does nothing unless you can find a way to proactively sacrifice it. I think we can assume our opponent is not pointing shatters at this card, unfortunately. If you can sacrifice it, it's okay, but it's still quite high variance, right? Because you're looking at 13 cards and getting a creature at random. Sort of asking you to not have a ton of cheap creatures in your deck, I guess, theoretically. The time I'm actually interested in this is when we're sacking it and recurring it.
Yeah.
So obviously, like, Goblin Welder is kind of the gold standard, right? But there's, but if you're doing like artifact sacrificey stuff in your cube, you'll have a bunch of ways to recur artifacts. And if you're getting multiple triggers off this, it will be quite strong. You will want to make some consideration in deck building, I think, to not have a bunch of super low impact creatures, because you want to, when you select at random, you want to be hitting the creatures you care about a little bit more. Yeah, listen, this is one for lower power level cubes for sure. Cubes where you want to get some time to set up, and that's okay, and you need to work for your synergies, because if this is competing against cards that are a sort of self-contained value engine, then you should just play those cards, not this one, because they'll always work. But if it's a cube where you've got to work for your value a little bit more, I think this is kind of cool. And it's just pretty unique, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we just don't see this sort of effect very often.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like the way, like I've kind of got down in my notes. It's partly, it's somewhere between a polymorph effect and a Goblin Welder effect. Like, and I think it's a really unique space. And like, yeah, the deck building constraint it's definitely there. Like, kind of like, yeah, you want like your enablers, like something like a Goblin Welder or an equivalent, and then effectively there's nothing until top end. The way to think about it is also it's similar to like a Reanimator style deck. Because you either want a way of getting it back so you can do it again, or you want to put like a 10/10 into play or something like that. If you think of it in that vein, then like cards like Trash for Treasure become really interesting with this kind of thing. Like you can sack this to a Trash for Treasure, reanimate something big from your graveyard, and then also get your next big thing into play. Like that could be quite cool. I like this card. I think it is really cool. There is also not just the Goblin Welder type decks. There is like the Aristocrat style of decks. It's like Aristocrats, but we're getting value from sacking artifacts, and this is a great artifact to sack.
Yeah, for sure. There's a bunch of interesting enablers for this card. The 4-mana Duretti I quite like as well. There's even a 5-mana Duretti creature which like does Trash for Treasures every attack. That card's kind of cool. Also, imagine we point an Indomitable Creativity at this. That would be kind of sick. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I like this card kind of gets my like the brewer in me thinking, and yeah, I want to do some cool stuff with this. Like this seems like a slam dunk for that. Like, a few weeks ago we did an episode on a mono blue desert. The mono red desert is coming next. This seems like a really cool option there. That seems like a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, that sounds sick.
All right, but let's keep it going. Next up, we have Goblin Town Flunkies. This is 1 and a red for a 1/1 creature goblin soldier with haste, and when it enters, we amass goblins 1. So this is our third Mog War Marshal effect, like after Mog War Marshal and Goblin Instigator. Effectively, it's 2 mana for 2 goblin bodies that have just proven to be really good and versatile in Pauper cubes and in like budget cubes. They're good in token decks, they're good in Aristocrat decks. The main body on this one, having haste, I think is definitely an upside. Like you get in for some damage early, that is quite nice. The token being a mass goblin, I think is more interesting than a regular token. Like it means that you like the base level is just a 1/1 goblin token. If there's no other amass in your cube, it is the same as the other effects. It's just making you a 1/1 goblin. I guess with the potential synergy of +1/+1 counters, but that's not really something you see in red. But where this gets a bit more interesting is like if you have any other incidental goblin amass in your cube, because turning a 1/1 into a 2/2 will make it like a real creature that will trade with actual magic cards. My guy is you don't need all 3 of these in a cube. I think you run Mog War Marshal for nostalgia. You run this one from a power level point of view, and then you probably leave the Instigator at home. But if you have a large cube, if you have a 720 Peasant Cube, there's a world where just running all three of these is just going to fill the holes on so many decks in your cube that they'll just be solid. What do you think of this one, James?
Yeah, I guess which ones you're running sort of depends on what you're trying to do with them, right? If you're really into just the go wide aggro, then yeah, the haste is nice. I think if you're sacrificing them, original Mog War Marshal is certainly the best one, right? Because it gives you 3 things to sacrifice rather than 2, which is pretty big.
Yeah.
The thing of the amass token, I actually sort of see it as a downside if you have multiple amass in your deck. I just think most of these decks would rather have 2 1/1s than a 2/2, you know? Like, if you're putting Mog War Marshals in your deck, you want to go wide, right? In general. Like, you're going to have extra stuff to do with those bodies, I suspect. Otherwise, I sort of think, why are you putting these cards in, you know?
I would agree. I just feel that there will be times where a board state where a 2/2 will be quite helpful.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying there won't be situations where it's better, but it's not like you have the choice, right? You know, and I think probably more times than not, you'd rather have the 2 1/1s than the 2.
No, fair enough. No, makes sense. So do you think this is the lowest of the Mog Fanatic? Oh, no, sorry, of the Mog War Marshal tier list.
What's the other one between Marshal and this?
Goblin Instigator. It's just one red for a 1/1 goblin that comes in and makes a goblin.
I think maybe the haste makes this better than that card still. Because in reality, you probably don't have that much of a mass in your deck. And yeah, if you have 0 of a mass cards, it doesn't matter. If you have like 1 or 2, it really doesn't matter. But if you have like 5, then this isn't a 1/1 that comes with a 1/1, right? But yeah, no, it's a solid bit of redundancy for this effect.
No, makes sense. All right, we've talked about some Bilbos, we've talked about some Golems. Time to talk about the big bad. Let's talk about Smaug the Magnificent. What do you think about this beefy dragon, James?
Oh, he is magnificent, isn't he? Look at him go.
Yes, so glorious, yes.
All right, Smaug the Magnificent is 2 red for a 4/3 legendary creature dragon at Mythic Rare. It has flying and haste, so 4 mana 4/3 flying haste, already quite a beater. And whenever Smaug attacks, he deals damage equal to the number of treasures you control to any target, and at the beginning of your upkeep, create a treasure token. Yeah, this card's pretty nasty. 4 mana 4/3 flying haste is already like really close to good enough, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's a really strong beater before you get to any of the rest of the text. If you have no other treasure generation in your deck, then the rest of the text is nice, but not a huge part of the card, I would say. Because you're getting no trigger off the first attack. The next one, maybe you ping something down. Sure, you have a little bit of extra mana, that's nice, but on turn 5 in your presumably aggressive leaning deck, how much does it matter? And maybe you get to sort of pick off an X1 on the second attack. But the thing is, if this is attacking sort of 3 or 4 times, the game's probably over. So the treasure text didn't matter that much. But if you do have other treasure generation, this gets really quite powerful, because then it's potentially killing a creature on the first attack when it comes down. So even if they have the removal for it for next turn, you still got a creature out of the way and got in for some damage. If you're really popping off with treasure, this is it's like a glory bringer that's 1 mana cheaper and doesn't have to exert. It's kind of absurd.
Yeah, it just goes again and again. Yeah.
Also, not something we generally talk about a ton in these set reviews, but this is like a 10 out of 10 for Auto Battler Cube.
Oh, tight. Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Yeah. Because it's sick early, right? Because it's getting you treasure generation, but also late. Like, if you're at max treasures, this attacks for 9, and there's loads of ways to deal damage without having to invest mana in that cube.
And I like the fact that it's 4 mana, so you have to play a land in your hand or crack a treasure to get it. That's quite nice.
It also does the thing, right, where if we've all traded off our cards and this is the only thing left, then it gets me back up to max treasure. Yeah, but in regular cubes, also phenomenal, I would say.
Yeah, this should be kind of renamed actually as Smaug Win pre-release. I'm pretty sure Table 1 at our pre-release was just two Smaugs smashing into each other. It was who could draw it first. But I quite like this guy. Like, I think I'm a little I think I'm a little higher on this, like on the pinging than Umar maybe, because I kind of see this as like effectively it's just growing in power every turn. It's growing one in power in turn. Like I like the flavor of this. That effectively, like the flavor of this is kind of like it's wanting you to hoard your treasures, so it deals more damage. That's really cool. Like I think it'll be quite like the way I'm seeing the treasure is effectively if it helps us cast our next dragon. If we can cast a 6-drop dragon on turn 5, then we use the treasure. If not, we kind of keep it there and keep just going to face with it, because it will attack for 4 the first turn it's down, then 5, then 6, then 7, and it will grow up, and that will kill your opponent very quickly. Yeah, like I think this is a really strong card. Like it will be undone by some annoying creatures, like any kind of like 3 power flyers will get in its way quite easily. Like things like Flicker Wisp really ruin this card's day, but like I could see this one being tested in like the highest power level cubes, probably not sticking around too long, but like in any high powered cube that isn't like the most powerful, I think this will just be a solid card, and then in any power level below that, probably very strong, I think.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think the issue it has, right, is just it's 4 mana, it's 3 toughness, it doesn't have an ETB, it doesn't have any sort of protection, so that can be a little bit tough in those cubes, but you can still try it. It's gonna kill. If your opponent doesn't kill it, it will kill them very quickly.
Yeah, Smaug is definitely magnificent. All right, but let's keep it going. We have one more red card today. We have a saga, and it's called the Misty Mountains Cold. This is 2 and a red for Enchantment Saga with 4 lore things. What the fuck are they called? With 4 steps. Thank you, James. with 4 chapters that all say, create a treasure token, then if you control 4 or more treasures, sacrifice this saga. If you do, create a 6/6 red dragon creature token with flying. So I had this one at pre-release actually, and it's an interesting card. Like to play it as intended, it's almost a 6/6 flyer with suspend 4 for 3 mana. It's kind of like it's like you play it on 3 and then you do nothing, and then in 4 or 5 turns later, you get a creature that can attack. So actually, in 5 turns, so 4 turns later, you have a creature that can attack. The other way to think about this, which I think is quite nice, is that it's a manalith. So it's a 3 mana rock that makes a mana of any color for a turn. And in games I played it previously, it kind of came out both ways. Like one game, my opponent wasn't pressuring me, so I just let it sit there, tick up, and then I killed my opponent with the 6/6 dragon. The other games, I played it on 3 and then used it to cast my other spells. I used it to ramp the other cards in my hand. And that utility is quite interesting, like especially as red can care about artifacts and them going to the bin, like we can do something with the treasure. But like the fact that with this, we have the choice of it's either a slow win gone or it's a manalith, or it's like a 3 mana rock that's more interesting than just a generic 3 mana rock. Like that choice is quite nice. Does obviously get better if there's anything else with treasures, because like if we have 3 treasures in play when we play this, we will play this, make the 4th, and then sack it straight away and make a 6/6. We will have had to do work to get the other treasures, but like that is still an interesting payoff for that tile of deck. So I like this card. I think it's a cool build around. Like I don't think like power level wise it's going to get anywhere near a super high power level cube. Like it's going to go in a cube that I think is already fine running a 3 mana rock, and it's just looking for something more interesting. And in those cubes, I think this is more interesting than just like whatever the manalith variant from this set is, because we kind of get one every set now. But yeah, interesting card anyway. What do you think, James?
If you're using it as a manalith, it is a manalith that goes away after 4 turns, though. And like decks that want to include manalith are not very quick in general.
Yeah, I would agree, but then they don't become creatures that can win you the game, though. That's kind of the trade-off we're getting. It's either a manalith for 4 turns or a win con.
Sure, but it's not both, right, is the thing.
Correct, it is either or,
yeah.
Yes. You're kind of all in with either, basically.
I mean, the nice thing is, if you do hoard your treasures and wait for the dragon. The saga goes away when you get the dragon, but the treasures do not. So you do get a big injection of mana at that point. It's almost like after 4 turns, create a 6/6 dragon and 4 treasures, because you have suddenly unlocked these 4 treasures that you had to not crack previously. So that's quite nice. If you have good like catch-up mechanisms, that could be okay, because I'm sort of assuming you're quite far behind at this point, because the thing is you have essentially played 3 mana, do nothing, and on turn 3 if that's the plan, right? Mostly I think I'm only interested if I have other ways to make treasure and speed this up a bit. That just feels too slow to me. I think we have too many manliths that are better at that job. So I would be interested if we had a sort of treasure-focused package in the cube, some specific treasure synergies, then I could get on board. Outside of that, this feels pretty slow to me, because it's just like, imagine you pay this on turn 3, you don't do anything with your treasures, you're waiting for your dragon. That puts you so far behind, just playing 3 mana straight up, do nothing on turn 3. You cling on, you wait until turn 7 when you finally get your dragon. I mean, if they just like bounce the dragon or kill the dragon or whatever, that's so bad for you, you know?
You do have to make a choice to do either, but you can break that choice at some point. You don't have to, like if you are... My assumption is you are still playing Magic around this. You're still playing a 1-drop, a 2-drop, a 4-drop. Effectively, you have the choice of, am I losing now? Okay, I will ramp to a bigger thing in my hand, and that will catch me up. Or if I'm not being pressured, then I can wait for the 6.
Okay, I guess maybe the difference is I sort of see the manlith version as pretty bad. Like, I understand it's like it's a backup we'll use sometimes, but like if we are interested in manliths, there are a bunch of really, really powerful manlith variants, right? Like something like the tablet from Strixhaven, right? Tablet of Discovery. We don't need to play this as a manlith.
No, I would agree. Like, it's definitely like if you have other treasure, then I think it gets more interesting. But fair enough. Unlike Smaug the Magnificent, that kind of get in and gets better with treasure, this you probably need it. Yeah, I'll go along with that. All right, we're moving on to green, James. We have some cool little beasties to talk about. Talk to us about Bejeweled Warg.
Yeah, Bejeweled Warg is a pretty good one, I think. So this is 1 green for a 3/2 creature wolf at rare. It has trample, and it says, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, choose 1. You can put a +1/+1 counter on target wolf you control, so most commonly itself, or you can create a treasure token. This is just a pretty nice little beta. 2 mana 3/2 trample is already nice stats. That is gonna get in some damage in a lot of games, especially on the play. If you connect once, getting to grow this to a 4/3 for just 2 mana is pretty powerful. And it's really nice as well that if they do have a blocker and you can't get the blocker out of the way, you're still totally fine just sending this in. You trade, you trample over, and you get a treasure out of it, and then you get to cast your 4-drop. Also really nice. Listen, it's easy to kill. It only has 2 toughness, but it's fine on your 2-drop. This isn't... The issue this card runs into, right, is not, is it a good enough rate? Is it on plan for what your green decks are trying to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Often green is trying to go a little bit bigger, and its 2 drops are more about accelerating into more expensive stuff. And sure, this has the potential to accelerate, but it does not reliably accelerate you. But if you're supporting a more beatdowny green deck, then I quite like this.
Yeah, you kind of nailed it a little bit. Like traditionally, what green decks are looking for is like they don't really care about 2-drops as much. It's more you play a Llanowar Elves style effect on 1, and then on turn 2 you play a 3-drop, something like that. That's more where it's after. Like there is a world where we might like green has just been getting so many good, efficient beaters. Like we got Frenzied Baylot from Edge of Eternities like last year, on top of just like many years of just having green having a lot of good power and toughness. They're kind of like, is there a world where like we've really kind of moved away from like mono green, which is like all ramp spells? Like there's a world where like green aggro might just be getting enough bits to put up numbers. Like there's a world where kind of like if this was a Boros card, this would be like in the top like 5 most winningest cards in all of Cube or something like that, because it just goes in that deck. But like green's getting more of these effects. Like I think this card is rate wise is phenomenal. Like 2 mana for all that. Like there's a world where like I don't want all my cube decks to just be aggro. I do like the fact that green ramp is different, but like if you're playing around with it, like there's enough green aggressive cards now to do something. Like maybe there's a world where if you're looking to do something different, maybe you make like maybe red green your like aggro colors rather than Boros or something like that. Like there's definitely a way of doing it. Like I don't want a cube where every color is super aggressive, because that's a different style of cube. But like I think doing something with green is something that we should be looking at in the future.
Yeah, so I think how green has tended to play out more recently in the really high power level cubes is it is leaning aggressive. But the aggression is still not really about the 2s. It's like
it's more
elf
Minsk and Boo,
3-drop, 4-drop, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you're about the 2s, it is just a worse version of white, you know? Because it doesn't have the thing green doesn't have, right? Is it doesn't have the removals to play those the slightly grindier games. Like a lot of what makes those white decks so strong is that they can answer your opponent's ways of stabilizing. You know, they have really strong interaction, and green doesn't get that. So green just needs bigger and better threats. And this
white has way more disruption.
Exactly. And this card is good, but it doesn't go over the top of what they're doing, and it doesn't necessarily progress you towards the big things you're trying to do. Like I wouldn't be I would probably try it in a powered cube, because I think it is sort of one of the more powerful versions of what we've seen for this effect. But the cubes I would have more hope for is if you have a cube with some pump spells in, it's very nice, right? Like the trample's huge there, and once you get through once, it's then really big and threatening, right? Like that 3rd point of toughness makes such a big deal if you can get the first counter.
Yeah, I think it's a good one. I think it's one people will definitely play with because it is just a strong card. But yeah, I think finding the right home for it, I think, is going to be interesting. All right, let's keep it going with green. We have a beefy big green lad next with Bjorn the Fierce. It is 3 green for a 6/6 legendary creature bear shapeshifter warrior with trample. Other bears you control get +2/+2. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, put a trample counter on up to 1 target creature you control. It becomes a bear in addition to its other types. Then if you control 3 or more bears, draw 2 cards. So Jesus, this is a very big lad. We do generally see big green beef in every set now. Effectively, it's a card that if it comes down and isn't answered, you will just win the game. In that kind of slot, we're kind of comparing it to cards like Elder Gargaroth, which is a similar sort of creature, but it makes you a 3/3 every time it attacks. And like, it's a thing of like in a vacuum by itself. I think Elder Gargaroth is stronger because you don't need any other cards to make it work. But where this is stronger is if you're going to reliably have a board state, if you're going to reliably have other creatures, because this effectively turning your Llanowar Elves, turning any dorky little thing you have into a real creature, like turning a Mana Dork into a 3/3 that can attack. That turn, like the turn Bjorn comes down, is quite nice. And the other part as well, if you have that board state, when this is attacking, we are drawing that card because this is a bear. The creature we made last turn is a bear. The creature we made this turn is a bear. Drawing 2 cards and attacking for 10+ damage is very tempting. The reason why I said I think Elder Gargaroth is technically stronger is because it works better in a vacuum. It's consistent. It's always going to do its thing. This will have the this has the very high upside of potentially utterly blowing out your opponent. There will be games where you, after a board wipe, you draw this and it's just a 6/6 trample for 5. The floor is not that low with this, but like the ceiling is incredibly high, and that's where for me it's quite tempting. Like, it's worth mentioning as well, I don't think we're forcing in a bunch of bears, as much as I would love to, like, say where bear is back on the menu. Like, I don't think we're cramming in a lot of bears. I did look at the bears I have in my cube right now, and it's Ursine, Monstrosity, and Vastland Scavenger. They're both quite good 3-drop bears, but like, we're not building a bear type or matters deck within this. But like, if there's incidental synergy, it will come up. But like, yeah, this is another card that I think if I saw it in a cube, because the cube designer liked the Hobbit at kind of any power level, I think this would be a decent card. What do you think, James?
Yeah, this is really strong as 5-drops go, but as you say, green was not hurting for 5-mana powerful creatures that win the game if left undisrupted. It's nice that it gives you the stats buff right away. It is just one thing to be aware of, that it's not quite the same as like 2+1/+1 counters, because there is potential to get blown out, right, if they kill Beyond in combat, and then your other creature shrinks, and all of a sudden they have good blocks.
Yeah, there's some really annoying stuff with First Strike coming against this card that could utterly ruin you as well.
That is true. They do need 6 First Strike damage, though, so that might be a bit tricky.
It could be doable. It's 2026. I'm sure that exists.
Yeah, just clone a Porcelain Legionnaire and you're there, you know. No, this card's powerful. I don't see it as like meaningfully better than the other 5-drop screen has, but it's not worse either. You can put it in. If they don't kill it, it'll probably win you the game.
Yeah, I reckon if we went back through every set review we have done, there is a card in this slot. They're all within a percentile of each other. It's kind of run the I think there is like a technically best, but it's not run what you want. I think is the other part as well.
Well, it's going to go in the Mitgo Vintage Cube for one iteration, and then the next big new thing will come out, and that'll go in.
As is tradition, yes. As a tradition, yes.
Exactly. That's fine.
Nice, but from a big bear to a little bear, James, talk to us about Little Bear.
Yeah, they've got this whole naming thing with the bear in this set, where I think there's like 6 or 7 cards which are just various size of bears. I found it slightly offensive that Ordinary Bear was a 4/5. An Ordinary Bear is a 2/2. You know, this is well established.
Yeah. In Middle Earth, bears are bigger, I guess, is the gist of it.
I guess so. This Little Bear is a 3/2, so they must be. Little Bear is 2 and a green, so 3 mana total for a 3/2 flash. It says when this creature enters, untap another target creature you control. If that creature's a bear, put a +1/+1 counter on it. So I think mostly why this is here is that it's a piece to go infinite with Splinter Twin. I don't think we were missing that. There's already some redundancy for that. On top of the classic Deceiver, Exarch, and Pestamite, we have the Unruly Krasis, I think it's called. It's a 3/3 flash. But untap something. There's also... But I think the bigger issue, right, is why does your twin deck want to be green? Because like, if there was this twin deck that was not blue, then this would be interesting, right? But I don't know if that really exists. And this isn't better in terms of stats, right? Only having 2 toughness is kind of tough. There's no evasion, so it's not particularly useful if you don't have the twin. Yeah, like it does work. I just don't know that it's something that deck was missing, I guess.
Yeah, traditionally Splinter Twin Kiki-Jiki is blue-red, because blue gives us protection for our combo, encounter magic, and then also gives us card selection to go find the combo. Like, I don't think green is as bad. Like, okay, firstly, let's caveat this by saying that Kiki-Jiki Splinter Twin combos is not strong enough for powered cubes anyway nowadays. So we are playing it in lower power level cubes, and in those environments, like, I don't think green is as bad as you might think it is. Like, because green gives us creature tutors. Like, if we combine creature tutors to get, yes, it doesn't get Splinter Twin, but it does get Kiki Jiki that will work with this. So we can get both parts of our combos with a creature tutor. And green does have more protection now than it used to. Like, there is a lot more kind of like 1 mana instant speed creature gains hexproof or something like that. But that, like, I'm not saying, like, I don't think it's as good as blue, because blue just has way more powerful and more history with this type of stuff. But like, I don't think it's as terrible, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I guess the one place I could kind of see it is if we're like a survival of the fittest deck, then this means, well, without getting into blue, it's a 2-card combo. We can go and get our survival right with the Kiki Jiki in this. Yeah, I sort of have some doubts, but it could be worth trying.
Yeah, I think there is the one other application of this card is this is a common, and in Peasant, like we talked about it last year last episode when we talked about Head of the Hunt, like base level kind of like the flash on this card does mean that it's kind of like a green Doomblade. It's not as good as the Snake with Death Touch, but like as intended with this card, you can flash it in and untap a big creature your opponent thought it was fine to attack into and 2-for-1 them. Like, that's kind of like the as intended, potentially, probably not in Pauper because Modern Horizons 3 has plenty of cards to go in Pauper, but like, that isn't terrible. Like, there is like a nice 2-for-1 aspect of this card that you could get, but yeah, the reason people are talking about it is for the Kiki Jiki stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I think, Pauper Cubes are pretty powerful these days, honestly. Not sure that's
they have the initiative in them, James.
Yeah, for sure. There you go, you can flash in a little bear and take the initiative back. GG's.
I don't know that. Right, we're moving on to Multicoloured. Next up, have Bard, Hair of Girion. It is 2 white and a blue for a 4/4 legendary creature, Human Archer. It has Reach, Vigilance, and other creatures you control get +1/+1. Whenever you attack, draw a card. So I think this is a solid top end for a creature-based deck. Like, it's a very decent statted body. Reach and Vigilance is quite nice, and the Anthem to our team is also going to be good. The card draw on attack we will always like. I think so. Like, I have no actual complaints about this card. I think in a mid-powered cube, this is a solid top end for your creature deck. The issue is more, what is the right deck for this and finding where it goes. Like, Azorius Beatdown isn't the most common archetype that we hear in cube. I would say it is quite splashable, which is nice, and that's maybe where I could see it maybe seeing some play, like a Jeskai Tokens deck, going wide with like token makers when we're casting spells, or just creatures that make tokens like Adeline and Brimaz and like a bunch of Rabble Master effects, and like a Jeskai go wide deck, and then this is effectively like our 4-mana top end, if that makes sense. I think it could be solid there, but like that is definitely one for more lower powered or mid powered cubes where like say my Treat Yourself cube where it's like all 3 color archetypes, that kind of stuff. Like I think specifically in Azorius is the worst place for this. I think I want to be splashing like green for some tokens or red for some tokens, that kind of stuff, and then I'm a bit more into this card. But what do you think of Bard, James?
Yeah, I think I mostly agree. Like, power level wise, this card is quite strong. Like, it has good stats. It has an impact on the board right away. It's often going to replace itself the same turn that you play it. There's not a lot to complain about, really. As long as they don't have instant speed removal right away, you're going to get a decent amount out of this card. But yeah, the issue is, right, blue-white gold spots are quite competitive. I think it's at a power level where you could put it in a lot of cubes and it would see play and be good, but it's not at a power level where it's really demanding to be put in those cubes. And so then you're more looking at like the mid-power level cubes, and often they want more synergistic stuff out of their gold slots. And as you say, it's a bit of a weird fit for that in blue-white. Like, it's not really tending to be doing a go-wide thing. Like, even when blue-white is aggressive, which it normally isn't, it tends to be more like tempo-y with, and you have a couple of threats. You don't have this super wide board, right? So yeah, maybe like a Bant tokens deck or something. You could kind of see it, but or if you just sort of like for Tolkien stuff and want to get more of the cards in, like you can totally just put this card in, people will play it because it's a good card. But yeah, it doesn't have, I'd say, like a ton of really natural homes.
I know it's odd because this creature doesn't have flying, but this creature in a Azorius Flyers deck is quite nice. Because buffing up all your flyers are in theory going to be slightly lower power level because the trade-off is they have flying and they're going to repeatedly get through for damage. So that could be quite fun, actually. Like, it's a payoff for that deck that isn't just a generic other flying creatures get +1/+1 thing, where this will buff up your board and you're going to be attacking because your opponent can't block them. That could be nice.
Yeah.
But
turn 3 Triplicate Spirits, turn 4 this.
Whoa, James. Love to hear it. All right, James, you're up next. Talk to us about Chief Warg's Company.
Yeah, for sure. Chief Warg's Company is 1 a green and a black for so many stats. It's a 5/3 creature wolf at rare. It has trample. It says it can't attack unless you control 2 or more other wolves, but at the beginning of your upkeep, create a 2/2 green wolf token. Yeah, left undisrupted, this is going to put a lot of power and a lot of toughness onto the battlefield. For just 3 mana, it is doing a lot. Except that, assuming you cast this on turn 3 and you don't have any other wolves, and you probably don't have any other wolves, you're not getting to attack with this until turn 5, right? So it's not the most aggressive card, but in just a grindy mid-range deck, this is going to do a lot for you, and it's nice that it's not sort of asking you to have anything else on the board, right? It is just doing the army in a can on its own. And often in those decks, you don't want to devote a ton of slots to killing your opponent, right? Because you want the discard, you want the removal, you want all the other mid-rangey stuff. So having this sort of just powerful standalone threat, it's often what you want. So I quite like it for that sort of deck. I think, yeah, we have some strong options of this for Golgari Gold's cards these days, but I think this is pretty good. I would be tempted to try it. And it's also really nice that, yeah, it can't attack unless you have the other wolves, but it can block. And it'll trade for basically everything at 5 power. And I think this is just going to be a pretty good rate creature. Like, sure, it does have the issue that it dies to a bolt and you're not getting the wolf till your next upkeep, but it's 3 mana, Yeah, I think that's just about okay. Yeah.
Whatever else you were paying at 3 would have died. Yeah. Like when I first saw this card, I was my initial thought was like, oh, it's really slow. Why are people hyped on it? But then kind of the more I thought about it, was like, it's kind of just like 1 more mana for like a Bitter Blossom that spits out 2/2 wolves. That's not bad. Like I think I like this. So yeah, I'm definitely higher on this card the more I think about it. But like I think I am like in terms of getting into a cube, I think I would still want like a bit of synergy. Like I think I would want like maybe Aristocrats touching green a little bit, because then it does like it's a token maker that is also a creature itself. So like it's constantly giving you stuff to, if you want to sack, you can, or you can just go in on it and attack with it. Like I think I want a bit more synergy for it to come in rather than just being a solid card by itself.
Yeah, but the thing is, the tokens are almost a bit good to sacrifice,
Yeah, true,
like they're 2/2s and they're unlocking this as a giant attacker.
No, maybe it's more the incidental Aristocrat deck, I should be saying. So like, there's a Blood Artist in there, if that makes sense. But yeah, no, cool card. Yeah, I think Chief Warg's Company pretty solid. All right, we have a Simic card next with Thranduil, Sindarian Liege. This is 2 hybrid Simic for a 2/3 legendary creature elf noble. It has other elves you control get +1/+1, and landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, create a 1/1 green elf creature token. But it also has an adventure. It has Sylvan Rally, which is 1 hybrid Simic for a sorcery adventure with mill 4 cards, then put up to 2 land cards from among them into your hand. So I think this is a cool card if you're trying to support peasant. If you're trying to support the lands deck in a peasant or lower powered cube, I think this is quite solid there because it kind of does everything in one card that deck wants. Like the first half is like the adventure part is like a more expensive like mulch kind of effect. Like we mill some cards, we get some lands back. Normally they're 2 mana, but we only get 1 land back. This being 3 mana is more expensive, but we do get 2 lands back. Potentially from the 4, which I think is quite nice. It's just helping us keeping those lands in our hand. And then the creature side is effectively what a lot of those decks want to do. They want to be rewarded when they play lands, and effectively this is spitting out 2/2s. Like to get our money back on this card, like to get our money back on the 4 mana we've invested. Realistically, we need to play 1 land afterwards. And if that's an Evolving Wilds, then we double dip. We do all the cool stuff with landfall. I think that's quite solid. Like it has the thing of like with most common, like uncommon adventures, like neither side is individually the best of what it does. Like I think a mulch is more efficient because it's cheaper. There's probably a 3 mana version of the creature effect, but the fact that we get both halves stapled to 1 card means that I think it's pretty good, and will definitely, I think, should see play if you're trying to support a lands deck and there's lower power level cubes. I'll quickly mention that like this isn't an Elf Matters card, but it does get better if you incidentally have like the Llanowar elves, the cheap elves you normally see in a cube naturally in your deck. They will get better with this card, but I wouldn't like put this in my cube thinking I need to then force like 100 elves in, because it is a self-contained engine. Like it's a card from 2026. It makes the elves that are powered up by the card. It's a self-contained thing. So I think Thranduil gonna be pretty solid in peasant cubes.
Yeah, I think if you showed me this card even a couple of years ago, there's no way I'd believe this was an uncommon, right? It's quite a recent thing. They've started printing these sort of self-contained value engines at uncommon.
With so much text.
Yeah, and this is a really strong one. Like, it would be a strong card even without the adventure, but the adventure like provides so much fuel for it, and it's just you're already a 2-for-1 before you've cast the creature. It's kind of nuts how much you get from this card. Yeah, like if the adventure's gonna find you 1 to 2 lands very reliably, you'll start fueling this, creating 2/2s. Like, yeah, sure, it's mana intensive, but in a peasant cube, this is giving you so much from 1 card. Even if they remove this right away, you got a token out of it, you got 2 lands out of it. I don't know what more you want from your 4 drops, really. This isn't an elf-specific card. It's just strong. I wouldn't even consider it like, oh, this is a landfall card. I think it's just a good card. It's not even limited to blue-green. I would put this in a lot of blue-white decks. Or I think this is just going to be powerful in most cubes, in most peasant cubes. Outside of peasant, it's, you have a lot more choice of things with a similar effect when you start including theirs, right? So then maybe you would just limit this to like maybe if you're doing an elves thing or a landfall thing, then you start considering it. But yeah, in peasant cubes specifically, I think this is really, really strong.
Yeah, going to be a good one. It did maybe when I was talking about how this is what cards do in 2026, I did have a horrible realization that like at some point we're going to get this, but it's also a flip card, aren't we? There's going to be so much reading in the future.
The adventure flip card is not what I'm looking forward to.
It flips into a planeswalker. Oh my god. All right, no, let's not talk about that. We have some cool cards to finish up with. James, I quite like this one. Talk to us about Tom, Bert, and William.
Yeah, these are some good lads. These are 3 trolls that they get turned into stone, which is very cool. So Tom, Bert, and William are 3 a black and a green for a 5/5 legendary creature troll. So you can pay 1 and sacrifice another creature to draw cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power, then discard a card. And when Tom, Bert, and William die, if they were a creature, return them to a battlefield and they're an artifact. I feel like the flavor's kind of missing here for me. Like, they didn't really die, did they? You know?
Yeah.
I will retain. I think this was the time they should have brought back day-night. That's all I should have done here. Just one day-night card in the set.
Yeah, flavorfully, yes. But
sorry,
Jesus,
I don't care how annoying
Yeah.
it is. It's non-optional flavor-wise. And then when it becomes day, they become an artifact. That would have been sick.
Well, it could be if it ever becomes day, they become an artifact.
Exactly. You've just got to keep it as night for the whole game to keep the creature.
Well, that's fine because it never has. Yeah, you don't have to worry about back and forth. It's only okay.
Yeah. That would have been cool.
That's not terrible. Okay.
That isn't the card we have though. We have this one.
No.
It's not bad. It's the issue is right that it's 5 mana. So it's hard to have the extra 1-up right away. And sure, if they die, you keep the ability, but if they get exiled or dealt with in some other way, then you don't. That being said, it's decent stats, and it is nice that if they just point like black removal at this, you're probably getting to keep the ability is pretty good. Listen, it's not one for like super high power level cubes just because it's like it's too expensive for a thing which is then asking you to sacrifice more onboard material in order to get your advantage, right? You're just not going to have time for that in a lot of cubes. But for a mid power level cube, I think this is quite nice. And green-black does tend to be quite good at recursion. So sacking your big stuff and then bringing it back could be pretty good. Like maybe you have a recurring nightmare or something going to get your big creature back again. But there's some stuff you can do here for sure. Pretty reasonable include, I think, for mid power level cube.
Yeah, so like the reason why I added this one to the list is for me, I agree with everything James said, and as it just being a decent it's a decent value card, and the fact that it's a 5/5 is means that worst case scenario you're being able to attack with a troll for 5 mana. We love that. I've talked about this archetype a couple of times on these set of views, and that's the power matters archetype, because this is actually kind of the perfect card for that, because the ability to sack creatures and draw cards equal to their power is exactly what that archetype is after. Basically, what we want to do is play cheap, play a Yargle or something like that. Play a cheap big idiot, sacrifice, get in for some damage as soon as our opponent can block it, sacrifice it, draw a bunch of cards, and then go again, refill our hand. This is kind of perfect there, and especially the fact that it's an engine that if they remove, we still have the engine. I also like the fact that it's also just the perfect signpost gold card for that archetype existing. If you see this and Yargle and Multani, you know what the deck is doing. I play this, I attack. When I can't attack, I sack it, I draw 18 cards or whatever.
Sack Yargle and Multani, draw 17, lose the game. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I'm into it.
Yeah, that's where I see this card potentially having potential. I think it's one where I've talked about similar to red white equipment. We've talked about this archetype a couple of times. It might be one where I actually need to kind of work out a cube for it to go into. But yeah, does seem fun. I do want to give it a go. All right. We're moving on to colourless, sort of. Maybe we haven't organised these the best, James. Because our only artifact for today is the Arkenstone, which is definitely white. Don't worry about it. The Arkenstone is 5 generic mana for a legendary artifact with creatures you control get +1/+1, and at the beginning of your end step, draw a card. But it also has an adventure. It has Seek the Heart, which is 2 and a white for a sorcery adventure. Search your library for a legendary creature card, reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle. So I think with this card, both halves are solid. We wouldn't really run a legendary creature tutor by itself, but as it's half a card tacked onto something else that is a decent buff effect, I think it's solid. Specifically on the tutor part, if it said any legendary, I would really like this card, because then we could go and get a big planeswalker with it, and I think that would be really good. But I think 3 mana to go and get a legendary out of our deck is a bit niche. if we're not comboing with it, what are we doing? We're just kind of getting like the best value creature. But then there's the question of would we want this or just another value creature? The artifact half, I think, again, performance 1 for 5 mana is fine. It's not the most broken. It obviously gets better if we're in an aggressive deck where we want to be attacking and buffing up our creatures, or if we're in tokens where there's a big difference between turning a 4/4 into a 5/5 or turning a bunch of 1/1s into 2/2s. We're doubling up the damage. We like that a lot more. The bottom part of the artifact we know is broken because effectively it gives us the monarchy. And that is quite good. It's the monarchy our opponent can't ever take from us. We like that. My concern with this card is just 5 mana. I think both halves are slightly too expensive to see that much play. Like, I'm trying to think, like what is the line with this card? Like, if this card's in my deck or in my cube, what am I trying to do with it? And like, the best things I can come up with is like 3 mana, go tutor up like Adeline, or like something that make a legendary that makes tokens, because then I'm getting the most off of the 5 mana part. Because in effect, I'm going 3 mana, tutor for token maker, 4 mana, play that, 5 mana, play this. I think we can do better. Like if there was I did look at this, and currently there isn't a like sorcerer, like there isn't a legendary creature that's like a good board wipe. There's some like bad board wipes, but if I could 3 mana, tutor up a board wipe, play my creature that wipes the board, then I have the monarchy for the rest of the game with this. I like that more.
I don't know what Massacre Girl has done to you to deserve this level of shade.
Oh, that's all. Yeah. Okay, that's not me. That's Scryfall. If you type tag board wipe, Massacre Girl does not come up. But yeah, Massacre Girl. Yeah, okay. That is a play pattern I quite like. Like, if we can do something like that, I think that's solid. But like, what I'm trying to get across is kind of like that play pattern isn't going to come up as often as I want it to make this card good.
That's fair. Yeah, I think it depends what sort of cube you're talking about, right? I think if you're talking, because this card is very mana intensive, and sure, it gives you an anthem, but it doesn't necessarily go in the decks that traditionally want anthems. But if we're in a cube where you have a bit more time, I think the card's quite strong. Like, if you put this in your Treat Yourself cube, for example, which I'm not saying you should, but this would be a very strong card in that cube, I think.
Yeah, and I guess in that cube I do have some of my combo pieces are legendary.
Exactly.
Like, I think some of the food matters combos, like a couple of them are legendary. So that is a plus. Like,
it is just giving you a lot of value. And yeah, like the artifact side is good. I think there'd be a decent chunk of the games where you don't cast the adventure, right? Because you just have 5 mana and you want to get your card draw going right away.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think there's not a lot wrong with the card. I think it's one of those things where it's slow, so it's not going into powerful cubes, and then unless you're doing some Legends Matter stuff, it's kind of not powerful in a super interesting way to me. Like, it is kind of just like 5 mana, here's loads of stuff, but it's kind of more like generic, like, yeah, just have monarchy for the rest of the game, basically. Listen, the card's fine. I think if you're doing like a slow Legends Mattery thing, then I could see it being quite cool. Otherwise, like, it's fine, but I think there are other options.
Yeah, no, I go along with that. James, we have one last card for today. Talk to us about Hobbit Hole.
For sure. Hobbit Hole is a land common. It can tap it and sacrifice for land to search for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped and then shuffle, so it's an Evolving Wilds. But it also has Halfling Cycling for 4 mana. You can discard it and search your library for a Halfling and put it into your hand. This is cool. I think there are some Halflings that are generically good. Like, we talked about Bilbo in the first part of this set review, the blue one. That card's good. Gollum is quite good from this set. There were a couple of decent Halflings we got from Lord of the Rings. Listen, it is like a strictly better Evolving Wilds. Even if your cube has something like Nameless Inversion in it, the Shapeshifter removal spell, that card's fine. I think I wouldn't put it in my cube over Evolving Wilds if I had just like one halfling, because I think it's kind of annoying for players to like have to think about the halflings if there aren't actually very many halflings in the cube. But I think if you have like 4 or 5 in, then I would put this in because it's a kind of cool little bit of upside to get on your Evolving Wilds.
Yeah, so like I think in like mid and high powered level cubes, like or cubes where we have access to like rare lands, like there's a conversation of how many Evolving Wilds effects do we need. Like in my cube, I'm not cutting my Evolving Wilds, even though this one is slightly better, specifically because like I like the artwork on my Bob Ross Evolving Wilds. But like with this one, in lower powered level cubes, like I think Evolving Wilds is the most played cube card because of Pauper and Peasant. Like it's just one of the best lands if you're sticking to rarity, and like in those cubes, you effectively you want every version of this effect available to you. So in lower power level cubes and budget and Pauper cubes, I think you slam Hobbit Hole along with Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse. There's been like 3 or 4 versions of this since then, and like yeah, and in those cubes as well, like the halfling cycling can be a bit useful because like Rosy Cotton is a combo card. You can get that with this. Prosperous Innkeeper is a combo card. You can get that with this. I think it is interesting, and yeah, and you mentioned the changelings as well. Like I think it's basically from like Peasant down or budget cubes down. I think you slam all of them. Higher power level cubes, you can kind of pick the ones you want, and yeah, if they print more halflings, then maybe this will get better. But like, I think we need to kind of be in like either back to Middle Earth or like Dungeons and Dragons to see any more.
Yeah, for sure. And we're kind of past the time where we can just put Evolving Wilds in the high power level cubes anyway, right? There's too many untapped versions of that effect now.
Yep, no, that's it exactly. All right, that's going to do it for our set review. But before we get out of here, me and James are just going to have a quick chat about the set itself, because obviously we did pre-release, and the cards we liked from the cube. So James, what was your thoughts of pre-release? How was the set played for you?
I mean, pre-release was fun because pre-release is always fun, and getting to play the new cards is great. In terms of how the set is played, though, so I've done pre-release and I did like 2 arena drafts. I think I'm done.
Yeah, so I really liked pre-release, but at the time of pre-release, I think I said that like I feel that this is not the deepest format because like there's only 5 draft archetypes. It's effectively like because this is I think this is the last of the small sets that they're doing. Like from next year, they've said that every set is going to be at least of a decent size. This was like the last one where I think the set's only like 200 cards, including like special printings and stuff. So like, it's not the deepest draft environment basically. Like in my pre-release, I saw a lot of the same cards. Yeah,
I think small sets are inherently pretty problematic for draft, and this is this feels very, very basic. Like I think all the decks are just pretty fast, there's not a lot else going on. Like, try and play blue-green elves in this draft format, like, good luck to you. It is not happening. You can't put many expensive spells in your deck. You kind of just need to be make sure you're affecting the board every single game on turn 2, and that's just the price of entry. And listen, like that's fine, but we've just had a lot of those sets, and it's not like there's a bunch of interesting stuff going on once you've stabilized. It just feels like corsetty, but not even in like really the good way, you know. And honestly, like I'm sort of talking about the broader design of the set. Like there are a couple of cool cards that we talked about, but I didn't get the same feeling as like from the first Lord of the Rings set where I was like, oh, this is really cool. A lot of the designs felt pretty formulaic to me. And it has kind of felt to me like, especially with a lot of these small sets, they don't get the same amount of effort put into them.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, sure, there are fewer cards, but the cards they put in are all like really original and thematic. Like, but it feels like there's a lot of pretty cookie cutter designs in here. Like, there aren't any new mechanics, essentially, right? Like, we've got a mass goblins, which is just, we've had a mass a bunch of times before. We've got recruit, which is just connive, but you get a counter instead of, you get a token instead of a counter. Like, that's it, basically, right? Equipment matter, you know what I mean? There's nothing new in here. And it feels like it almost feels like when they've gone to sell Universes Beyond to different franchises, it's like you get the premium option when you get a big set with cool designs like Final Fantasy, or you can have the basic option where we're going to like give it to a couple of dudes to work on for a couple of months, and they'll scrap something together for you, but it's not going to be that interesting. And it kind of feels like that's the set we've got. Like, not to say that there aren't cool cards. I think a few cards we've talked about which are interesting for Cube. I like for Bilbo. I like for Gollum. There's a couple of good things for the Peasant. But as a set, as a whole, not an exciting one for me.
Yeah, I do agree to an extent. Like, I think The Hobbit is obviously not as rich as Lord of the Rings, but there's still I felt there was still more ground to be dug, if that makes sense, or they could have delved a bit more greedily. Let's put it that way. Yeah, like when I saw that kind of like the Golgari archetype was like it was about bears and wolves, and like I get that a bit, but like I feel there's just more. I felt there was more stuff you could do. Like a lot of the stuff from this set, like felt like it could just be from any set, if that makes sense. Yeah, like I like the card Chief Walk's Company, but like that could be from any set. I didn't feel this tied. It didn't get the flavor as right. I think in terms of cards, like there are some cards from this set that I think we're both hyped by. Like, oddly, I think we're both most hyped for Getaway Barrel, just because I think it's silly, and I really want to brew with it. I think for me, like Bilbo Thief in the Night seems like a solid slam dunk. Like, I'm very glad I opened one at pre-release, because that's going to be a slam dunk test for me. Were there any other cards that are you thinking of testing or playing in your cubes, James?
I think Plunder the Troll Shores, the sort of big think twice, I quite like. Buying back cards decent in a slower cube. Bilbo for sure. I think my card's pretty strong and it can do some interesting stuff. Smaug for Auto Battler.
Yeah, that seems tight. Yeah.
It's probably about it, I think, for me. If I build a cube where I can justify Getaway Barrel, it will be in there.
I've got you, James. Don't
also,
worry.
probably for Power Cube, I will put in the Queen of Dale, to be fair. I think that card's quite good.
That was the other one that like has fortunately halved in price since our last recording session, James. Is now only $20 rather than $40. So we love that.
News.
That was one where I don't think I was as high on it, but I'm also open to being wrong. And like I think Recruit did play quite well from my testings with that. But I think Queen of Dale could be a solid one. Great Gilded Boat I thought actually played quite well as well, but again, one for lower powered cubes. But that's the thing. There are some cool cards in this set, I think, just because it's kind of like, is it fair to say that maybe similarly to the films, they didn't hit as hard, like the Hobbit didn't hit as hard as the Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable to say.
But I guess at a minimum, actually, if you had a Lord of the Rings Tolkien cube, you now get a bunch of stuff to expand it to. So that's at least hot. There's a bunch more cool cards for that, which is nice. All right, but with that, James, I think we're going to leave Middle-earth for the time being. Thank you very much, man. Pleasure.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
All right, just leaves me to thank you all very much for listening. You have been listening to Powerful Nothing. Do make sure you subscribe to the podcast, give us a 5-star review, greatly helps us out. Until next week, it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from James, and we'll see you all soon. Goodbye.